Good morning.
Good morning.
Right, okay. Gathering report requirements. It's been my nightmare, okay, doing this. Doing gathering report requirements has been my nightmare because the number of requirements people ask me to do. But also, this is a nightmare session for me, so bear with me, please. I normally do a slide, another slide maybe about me, and let's go to demo, because that's easier. I am that person that prefers to live code rather than talk to slides. So please bear with me. I have no idea how long this is going to take. Hence, we have the wonderful people doing the times. So this is about me. I am active on Twitter, LauraGB. I have a blog called Hatful of Data, and I have a YouTube channel as well. HSO are mad enough to employ me. And I get the title Solution Specialist. I have no idea what it means, apart from the fact that it's called, that project needs you to do that bit there. We're going to have you in there for 2 days. Oh, and then on that day, you're doing that one, and that project, you're doing that one. Apparently, that's what a solution specialist is. My downtime, my way of surviving life, my get rid of anger, etc., and all the frustrations of life is to play board games. So this is me losing very badly at Terraforming Mars. It is a hard game, and I lose every time. But it's fine. It's what I do. So that's about me. Please reach out. LinkedIn. I'm Laura Graham Brown. But everywhere else, I'm Laura GB. Feel free to send me questions or whatever. So, report. Everybody assumes the report, the question, the topic of this is gathering those report requirements. Well, unless you know what requirements you need to get, what's the point? So everybody always goes with well, find out what the question is you're trying to answer in that report. And that's the tagline they always give. Well, having done quite a lot of reports, I actually learned that that's not all the questions you need to ask. And some of those questions are a little bit more difficult to ask, okay? So, why do we need the report is what question do we need to answer? Who needs the report? Know your audience is quite often what this gets put under. And if anybody was in Matthew Roche's session, the first thing of today, 8 o'clock, who does sessions at 8? But anyway, at 8 o'clock this morning, who needs the report? Actually, you need to understand your audience. You need to understand your people, what their requirements are hugely, okay? There are, in the IT world especially, the number of people who are neurodivergent is huge, but we'll come to that. And where are they consuming that report? Is it on a little mobile phone? Is it on a laptop? We all assume it's on a laptop. We all do, but we'll come to that later, and I'll talk about my issues that I had at certain clients. So, here's the easy part. What question are we answering? What problem are we solving? And we get people to do user stories. I'm sure you've all been on the user story. This is how you write a user story. If you haven't, there are some fantastic websites out there. There's some fantastic things who will explain what a user story is. And as soon as you start doing that workshop, and I've done them, okay, you get big stacks of Post-it notes, and you tell people to write user stories, and they cover a wall in them. And you end up with a delightful mess. And a laptop that's not listening to me. Play ball. Thank you. And you end up with a whole bunch of things. Okay? And the important thing to turn around to them and say is, not just, I need the total of sales. I need the total of production. You go, well, yeah, okay, fine, I can give you a number. Here's a number. Oh, no. I need a total of production yesterday. Okay, yeah, here's another number. No. I need production yesterday of my line. Oh, okay, I can give you that. And then they go, yeah, but I need it so that I know whether I'm going to meet the target. Oh, you want to compare it to something. You didn't tell me that part. So it all starts from this really simple, I need the total of something, to you need to drill down. And when they turn around to you and go, I need the total of sales. Real simple. Sounds simple. So they sell, let's have round numbers. Yesterday in the shop, they sold £10,000 worth of stuff. So the answer is 10,000. Oh, no. They had £200 worth of stuff returned. Does that go on today's sales, or does that go back to the day that they sold it? How does that work? And you need to answer those questions. And they also had some sales which were pre-sales for the book that's coming out next Friday, but it got paid for today. Does that count today, or does that count next Friday? How does that work in your business? Okay? So every term that they put there, get a definition. What do they really, really mean when they turn around to you and say, I need to know how many urgent faults we have open? What does urgent mean to you? What's the measure that I've got in there that's urgent? Okay? And that takes some doing. And they're going to not love you whilst you do it. Because you're going to go, can you just define that? Can you just define that? Can we drill down that bit a little bit further? And they're not going to love you. So all those post-it notes suddenly get sub-post-it notes, sub-post-it notes, and oh boy, you then need, and I apologize if there's anybody in the room that fits this, you then need an enthusiastic graduate, who I had on my last workshop, who typed them all up. Boy, do I owe her. Because I looked at it thinking, oh my goodness, how am I going to do this? She made amazing tables out of what they did. So, we then need to take these kind of things, and we need to organize them. We need to organize them into the kind. Now, I haven't put up all the visual types that are there. Please go and do the search. I think SQLBI have a sheet of all the different visuals you've got out there. So this is just giving you some examples. So comparison, that production to targets. Time-based, production over the last week, production over the last year. Maybe comparison and time-based. Production over the last year compared to last year's production. Those kind of things. One value. What's that one value they need? Okay? And one that really one in here that I got really good at asking people is, if I could give you a report with only 2 numbers on it, or maybe even 1, what do you need that number to be? What actually is your crucial, urgent, I need to know? And when I started, especially with a group that's not quite getting there, they're not quite warming up to writing post-it notes, when I got them to do that and have a discussion amongst themselves as to what that was for them, we then came up with some reports which were really good. I nicked a name off a client, which was the cornflake report. When you get up in the morning and you turn on your phone, the cornflake report gives you that one stat you need to know. Okay? So, work out what all those requirements are, where they fit in your matrix of things, what's going to be the good visual that's going to work for that thing. Is it just a simple data card? Is it a line chart and things? The session I missed yesterday, and if he's in the room, my huge apologies, but I will look at the recording, was at 5 o'clock yesterday about getting reports that people don't have to think too much. And Rishi had a lovely statement yesterday, which was visualization is to reduce the need for cognitive thought. I think it was something like that. I'm going to get the quote wrong. But that's what the purpose is at the end of the day. That's actually what your report is trying to do, to give them a message without having to think too much. So let's take a quick look at some people, okay? When they sent out graphics that we could use. I'm sure you've been in sessions and seen all these graphics used. And I have to admit that the gorilla with the whole, thank you, the whole thing like this is definitely a senior manager to me. So, high level. They want the high level. They don't want the details. They just want to know how things are going. How's the production site working? How's my supermarkets over the whole country working? Those kind of things. They don't want the details. They want one page. Give me rags. Okay? Give me the red, green, the red, amber, greens and things like that. The team lead, they want some details. They want to drill down. They want to see how individual team members are doing. And they need to see all the data. But let's go for the team member who, maybe they're a salesperson. So actually, they need to be able to compare to the rest of the team without seeing the rest of the team's details. And apparently I missed a really good row-level security session, which apparently talks through an awful lot of these kind of things. But that's where you need to start thinking about, what security do I need to think about and those things? But actually, for me, the important part, the message I wanted to get in this session, is actually to understand some things. This, by the way, isn't about all senior managers. So let's go. They've got dyscalculia, which is, for people that don't know, it's the equivalent of numbers and dyspraxia. Okay? So hates big tables of numbers. That's going to be a nightmare. Actually, what they just want is results. You give them a long list, they don't want that, because they mentally can't do that. Okay? So know your audience. Know what they actually want to see. Your team leader loves the details, wants to drill down. And if you've ever done the colors, if you had to insights, I would put her as blue as you can get. Okay? Wants all the details, wants to drill down, wants to find out, wants to spend hours in front of that report, doing all the slicing, doing all the dancing around the data. Know that. Whereas your senior manager really doesn't want to do that. They haven't got time. And then let's go for your whole team there. We've got a whole batch of things in there. They're going to have different needs. Every different team member's going to be there. Handle things like, are they colorblind? They're very busy. They haven't got time to do 301 slices. They actually just want an answer. Okay? Can't do maths. There are some very, very skilled people out there who can't do maths. Have anybody's seen the furniture maker, you know, the repair shop? The guy who runs that, who's done a whole thing about the fact that he can't read. He's very successful, very good at what he does, but actually, when he got to the age of 50, he couldn't read. You are going to have people in your organization who that is going to be an issue. And before you think about it, then it's not going to happen. Oh, it is. I had display screens in production areas with very skilled productionists. They were incredibly skilled. I can almost guarantee some of them couldn't do maths because it wasn't a skill they needed. So understand that. Understand that your report needs to serve everybody. And then there's the magic where. Okay? So we all think it's going to be on a laptop because that's where we are. And of course everyone's going to look at the report in the same way. And I can right-click and I can do things. And I can do the right-click and drill down. Yeah, that's Power BI. I don't know the other products well enough to tell you what those ones are. But that's what we assume. And everybody can do the typing and all the things. Great. Now I'm on a mobile phone. And I'm wanting to do the quick look at my things. I don't know how to do a right-click on my phone. And I certainly don't know how to hold down the control key while I click on something. So how's that going to work? And you know what? That really complicated chart you've just produced, and you spent hours writing complicated DAX. You spent hours in the DAX patterns book doing all that amazing stuff. They can't read the chart, so why have you bothered? Okay? And then there is the third one. And the third one came to me because I was working on a client site where they bought 8-foot by 6-foot screens, beautiful big things, that were in lots of different places. And they had stand-up meetings every morning around these big screens. And people would press buttons and touch things and do things. There was no keyboard. There was no right-click. There was no mouse. It all had to be touch. So when Microsoft came out with those things, oh, you can right-click. I'm thinking, yeah, great. Thanks, guys. Doesn't really help me today. I had to redo my reports. And also, what looked like really small on my screen on my laptop now was really big. Thank you. Now it's really, really big. And I had to rethink, actually, how's that report going to work? And now let's take that big screen, and now let's put it up there. And we're in a production line. Now I've got to think about how am I going to get that one to refresh, because I need it to be live. And it's just going to have to work. because nobody can touch it. And that's a completely different screen, a different report to work with. So know where it's going to be before you go too far. Or, as I did for a lot of my reports, I had 3 versions of my report to work in those 3 different places. They all came off the same data set, so they all showed the same numbers, so that the manager in the office saw it on the little screen on his laptop, could then walk into production, and there was the same data, but not the same report. Okay? And I worked out what the production guys needed at 3 o'clock in the morning on a report on the screen when they're working nights. What do they really need? Okay? What they needed was to know that actually everything was okay, and they were doing okay towards targets, and they were going to make it okay. That's what they needed, and that's what they wanted. So, I can't remember what the next slide is. Summary. Cool. So, know the problem your report is solving. And by the way, it's not just actually, for my production guys in the middle of the night, it was they needed to know how the night was going. They didn't really actually need the numbers. They just needed to see a line, and there would be a particular point at which it went green. Because that was production had got to the point they wanted to in this hour. Keep going, folks. You're doing well. Okay? That's what they needed to know. So know the customer, know what actually they want, know what their abilities are, know what they actually do. They want to drill down? Do they want to see the summaries? Maybe you need to give a page for each a different way of looking at your data. And know where. Know where they're doing it. Okay? So know how that's going. Right? So, any questions?
How are you awake this early? That was full of energy. That was a wonderful talk. I don't know how you do it.
I can do that. For one particular conference, I did this kind of thing at 3 o'clock in the morning. Don't ask. So, any questions? Any experiences people would like to share? You cowards, a lot of you. Okay, there's a question. So the question was, do you prefer whether users know too little about the data or too much? There is that time that you wish your users knew less, because you start to show them the data, you start to show them things, and they start to go, oh yeah, but, and you can't, just go away, no. And they'll dig out their Excel spreadsheets that they've got their version. Some of the time that's a pain, but some of the time what's appreciative of that is they understand the work that's taken to get that report. So your people that have no idea how much it takes to write the Power Query, to get the access, well, no, let's start with the real basics. To get the access to the data, let's be honest, it's a pain in the neck. The Power Query, the M, you've written the DAX, you've been on the SQL BI site for too many hours trying to work out how to do that stupid measure. They understand what you've done. Because when they don't know enough about the data, they'll think it's low code, isn't it? That's what Microsoft tell you. It's magic, it's easy. And some of the time, the most difficult number, that one little card in that corner, took you hours. So some of the time, I really appreciate at least one person understanding what we've just done. And so I think I prefer they know something about the data.
An online question from James asking, how do you handle changing requirements?
How do you handle changing requirements? Okay, one, if you have a project manager, make them your best friend, because they are your step between them putting in new requirements and you having to constantly react to it. Two, actually get them to write it down. If you've got some change request process, make use of it. So I pushed back to my manager this week. They came with Laura, can you do blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, yeah. Can you put it in DevOps? I want it in DevOps. I want it all recorded in there. Otherwise, you end up with it constantly being scope creep. Manage it. I'm Laura GB. Thank you so much for coming. See you at the next SQL Bits.